Howdy, my name is Mitch Mitchell. I usually begin my videos by saying greetings. And I got a comment on my last video where this guy Frank, hey Frank, thank you for watching, said that I always say greetings and he thinks it's a little formal, and he said a couple other things, and he might be right. But let me tell you why I say greetings. This is odd, but I knew my alphabet before I turned 2. My dad worked with me, so I knew my alphabet before I turned 2. I started reading before I turned 3, and at 4 years old, I was typing. My parents bought me this little red typewriter with the letters on it, and I was typing because we lived out of the country, and this was back in the 60s, so you didn't make cross-the-world phone calls back then. So I used to write my 2 grandfathers and my grandmother, and I think one of my aunts. And I used to, type, and it was lousy typing. I didn't know how to write. I mean, writing, took this hand skill. I didn't have that, but I knew how to type. And I was taught back then, and a lot of us were, that whenever you wrote a letter, you started with Dear Somebody. So it was Dear Grandfather, Dear Grandmother, Dear Aunt Lucy. It was Dear that you started with. As I got older, probably before before I hit 20, I started to think, you know what, I have never called anyone dear in my life. I'm not into these kind of appellations, so I don't call anyone dear, sweetie, honey. It's just not anything I do. So at that point, I decided I was going to change how I opened up my letters, and I went with greetings. So every letter that I've written since then, unless I just start with, hey, so-and-so or whatever, I say greetings. It works great in business. It's nice and easy. It's clean. It is courteous, but it's not too formal because I don't want to send a sales letter to someone with dear so-and-so. That just doesn't fit me and it sounds off. So I took on my own little thing. Remember in school, way back then, because I don't know if that happens now, I have no kids, so I haven't had anyone who's told me this. When the teacher used to take roll call, and they would have, everyone would say, here, 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 here. When it got to me, I always said present. Because I like to do my own thing. I did that as a kid. I do it as an adult. Now, I'm telling you that to lead into this, and indulge me for a minute because there's going to be a point to what I'm going to be telling you. I am a consultant. I have a business. It's incorporated. I consult in a few different things, and I've done a lot of things since I've been self-employed. I was self-employed since 2001. I got incorporated in 2007. I'm a healthcare finance consultant. What that basically means is that I work with hospitals to increase their revenue and their cash. I have certain skills that not everybody has. Unfortunately, not as many people who work in healthcare understand these skills, but I still work with them. And I help them to get their processes in order. There's a lot of things that I do that I know. My biggest success was helping a hospital bring in $730 million in 1 year. It was more than 100% from the time I started, so that's pretty good. Thank you. I'll take a moment for myself. I also do leadership. I do leadership training. I've written 2 books on leadership. You see one in the thumbnail. I've written 2 books on that. I wrote a book on social media marketing. I've created some programs. I created a management training program. I created this, what I call an evaluation module, so that employers can evaluate their talent, whether it's regular employees or management, employees. I do things. I've created all kinds of things like that. I help people do budgets. Now, that's not necessarily widely known, but I've been paid to help people do their budgets, and I get anywhere from $60 to $100. I like to see how people do, what their money looks like before I request a certain thing, and it's almost always $60. There was this family of physicians, the husband and wife were both physicians making tons and tons of money, and I charged them a little bit more because, my God, they had it, even though they didn't know they had it. We're not going to get into any true details, but let me just say that I've done that. I have been a social media consultant. So I used to build websites, but one of the other things I did was I helped people with their SEO. I have written almost 6,000 articles. A lot of them are online. As a matter of fact, the overwhelming majority are online, but I started as a magazine writer. So I used to end up with a lot of articles in healthcare magazines. I've been in a newspaper. My goodness, what have I done? Oh my God, I helped edit a couple of books. How many folks know Guy Kawasaki? I'm listed in one of his books as one of the editors. Yeah, I did that. So I have done a lot of things. I used to fix computers. I didn't build them, but I was the guy who people called and asked to fix their computers. And I was good at it. Actually, I'm still pretty good. My computer right now isn't together because y'all know, or some of you know, that my computer, I had this issue with it. So I had to open it up and do some things in it, and then it totally crashed in a different way. But I still can fix PCs. If you got an Apple, I ain't the guy. Laptop, you know what? I know how to change a few things. I changed the keyboard in my laptop, but in general, I'd rather not. I do a lot. And the reason I do a lot is because I don't have a passion for one thing. I like to do a lot of different things. I have had people over the years tell me if I picked one thing and only did that one thing, that I would be a lot more successful than I am. And, you know, it begs the question, would I really? I don't think so. The reason I don't think so is because I understand that everyone thinks that you can't be proficient at more than one thing. Well, let's look at our buddy Neil deGrasse Tyson. At least I think this guy's amazing. We know he's an astrophysicist. I think he's the smartest man in the world right now. But he was a wrestler in college. So he wasn't just a bad wrestler. He was a pretty good wrestler. He is a gourmet cook. He has a lot of other things that he loves to do. He can talk to you about a lot of different sports. So he's a brilliant guy. Yes, he's known for the astrophysicist thing, but he does a lot more than just that. There's a guy named Tim Green. Now, Tim Green was on 60 Minutes, and now he has ALS. But Tim Green went to my high school. I got to meet him once, and I told him how proud I was of all the accomplishments he did. He played Syracuse. Well, he went to Liverpool High School, where he was a top high school kid. He went to Syracuse University 4 years, All-American 1 year, was a Rhodes Scholar winner, went and played football for the Atlanta Falcons for 8 years, that poor guy, because that was a horrible team. Yet, he did that. After that, he was a lawyer. He was a sportscaster. He's written close to 50 books. He came back here like maybe 4 or 5 years ago to one of the high schools in the area and led it to an 11-0 record. I mean, the guy was just amazing. He was driven. He did a lot of different things. People wanted to pigeonhole him, but he wasn't going to allow it. He was going to do all the things he wanted to do. Sometimes you just got to say, I want to do the things I want to do. You don't want to be pigeonholed into one thing. Now, if your passion is cars and you really have a passion for it and that's all you care about, that's good. You do that. Become the best car maker or buyer or whatever that there can be, if that's your thing. But if you want to do a lot of things, whether it's for business or for pleasure or whatever, do it. Don't let anybody else tell you that you can't do something or that you should concentrate only on one thing. You should be proficient at the things you're going to do if you're going to do it for business. But you know what? You don't have to be overly proficient. You just have to be better than the next guy. I got that from Brendan Bouchard, and he's absolutely right. He said, one of the things that I used to do is if someone had an issue with something, I would do some research. I would learn a lot about it. I could go tell that person how to fix their problem. Next thing you know, I had other people had the exact same problem asking me things. And it wasn't that I was necessarily an expert, but I knew more than they did, and they came to me. It's that simple. It's harder if you don't know anything about marketing or sales or whatever. Still, it's really that simple. You just research it, and you know something more than the next person. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I was the #1 person for SEO. It was just me. But I knew more than everybody else in my area. So the people I used to work with, I knew more than them. I've done well by those people. At least I used to. I got out of that business because, I'm sorry, you just can't keep up with Google. Anyway, that's my thing. Let me know your thing. Let me know what you think of this. Do you think that it's okay to have multiple things that you're interested in that you're pretty good at, whether it's for business or for pleasure? My name is Mitch Mitchell. I will say greetings now, but I'm leaving. So y'all take care.